Friday, Biden, Fuentes dropped. They are as public speakers. Obviously, Nick is like on steroids in terms of his ability to just calmly and concisely explain things that are a little contentious and kind of redefine the lines between the whys and the whats and the, well, this is satire. And if you look at everything as offensive, there's no conversation. Surely you have. One of the things he kind of insinuated with Biden being there is that if you really thought that I was what you insinuate those comments are about, like the cookies, like I think your wife and your kids are cookies, you know, if you really thought that, you wouldn't be here. And what you're trying to say is that despite of that, which is unacceptable to you, you don't think that defines me as a person and as a man necessarily. And you're giving me an honest shake and having a conversation, respecting me not for the things I've said, but for who I am. Now, if you take that as a macrocosm, then you don't need to put people in the penalty box for the rest of their lives based off speech. You don't need to have this censorship idea, which is really the greatest part of that conversation with Biden on Channel 5, is you don't need to have this like forced kind of censorship by the consequences of your words. And Biden kind of says is like, you can say whatever you want, but there needs to be consequences. And I would argue that a lot of those consequences are not natural, they're forced. And kind of, you know, you don't want to give up that weapon. You don't want to give up the racism talk they discussed about like why no one mentioned this. It was like the 1958, 1955 Highway Act that caused the influx of, you know, white people from the inner cities to the suburbs, and the crime rates in the cities went up significantly as minorities took over. 1956 Highway Act. In any event, and then you have like the Equal Rights Bill and the welfare programs and stuff like this, and you look at standardized testing scores in the 1960s, they're just like dropped by 30-40% in the inner cities. So like there's something clearly there. And Biden, for whatever reason, even though Nick says, you know, during the Charlie Kirk incident, there wasn't, in the aftermath, there wasn't riots where people were blowing up stores. The Freddie Gray incident involving his childhood friends and, you know, everyone's black, the black mayor, the black police chief. The Freddie Gray incident left Baltimore in shambles with black-owned businesses being torn apart. You know, in like Minneapolis, well, not the entire city, Andrew clarified this, was, you know, on fire. Large portions of it were destroyed, were set ablaze. Because of the righteous indignation that you can, like, I can get away with being transgressive and angry. I'm not even angry about George Floyd. I just have the ability to get away with it. And there's like a lack of consequence or lack of consideration for community, which is also an interesting point when I talk about what's his name? The Lashian. Yeah. Christopher Lasch, the Lashian affectation that rich people are not beholden to communities. That's why they've gone to shit. I'm not sure a certain group of people care about their community, and they too go to shit. Oh shit, my friend has called me. Hold on.